Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mark, and this is English Story Time with Mark. This is a channel for ESL learners primarily who would like to hear stories read slowly and using modern English and read more slowly than typically people would read stories. I will also be reading some classic old stories that I will be rewriting into modern English to make it a little bit more easier to understand and applicable for ESL learners. So I hope this is something that you will find useful. I have chosen not to put the words up on the screen because this is primarily intended as a listening exercise for learners rather than a reading exercise. But of course, you are welcome to turn on the closed captionings if that makes it easier for you. But I do encourage you to just listen and try to understand the story. Hopefully it makes you interested in reading the actual story itself at some point, but for now it's just to have some listening practice and hopefully make you interested in reading. So the story that I'm going to be reading today is quite seasonal and topical. It's a Christmas related story. Of course, we've just come out of the Christmas season. I guess we're still in it because we haven't hit New Year's yet. So I think you'll find this story interesting. The story is called The Gift of the Magi, and it was written by O. Henry, who was an American short story writer who wrote at the early part of the 20th century, mostly. And his stories were very popular at the time because they were known for having a twist at the end, sort of an unforeseen, unpredictable twist at the end. So let's see if you can catch it. I have reworded and rewritten the story to make it a little bit easier for learners to understand because it was written more than a century ago. So there was some archaic language in it that I have chosen to take out to simplify. So with that being said, let me read the story now. The Gift of the Magi by O. Henry. Della stood by the apartment window, staring at the gray December afternoon. She sighed and counted the crumpled bills and coins in her hand again. It was still the same, $20. Hardly enough to buy Jim, her husband, a decent Christmas gift. She glanced around the tiny apartment, its worn furniture reminding her of how tight money had been lately. Jim worked long hours at a low-paying job, and Della did her best to stretch every penny. But this Christmas, she wanted to give him something special, something that showed how much she loved him. Her eyes caught her reflection in the mirror, and an idea struck her. Della's hair was her pride and joy. Long, thick, and shining, it fell almost to her knees. Jim always said it was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. But what good was beauty when she had no money? With a determined nod, Della grabbed her coat and scarf and left the apartment. She walked quickly through the bustling, busy streets until she reached a small shop with a sign that read, "We buy hair." The woman inside looked up from her work and smiled. "Can I help you?" the woman asked. "I want to sell my hair," Della said, unpinning her hat and letting her hair tumble down. The woman inspected it, running her fingers through the silky strands. "I'll give you $200 for it," she said. Della agreed. The scissors snipped, and soon her hair was gone, replaced by a short, uneven bob cut. That's like a helmet. She felt a pang of sadness, but quickly shook it off. With $220 now in her pocket, she hurried to the jewelry store. Della knew exactly what she wanted. a sleek silver chain for Jim's pocket watch. The watch was his most treasured possession, passed down from his grandfather. But it hung on a worn leather strap that didn't do it justice. It didn't look good enough for it. The new chain would be perfect. She paid for it, had it gift wrapped, and headed home, her heart racing with excitement. Back at the apartment, Della fixed her hair as best she could. She curled the ends and hoped Jim wouldn't mind the drastic change. She prepared dinner and waited, the gift box hidden behind her. Jim came home at his usual time, looking tired but smiling when he saw her. Then his smile froze and his eyes widened as he noticed her hair. "You cut it?" he asked, his voice soft. "I had to," Della said quickly, stepping forward. "I couldn't afford your gift otherwise, but don't worry. It'll grow back. And look, I got you something amazing." She handed him the small box. Jim didn't take it right away. Instead, he reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a gift for her. "Open yours first," he said. Della unwrapped the package and gasped. Inside was a set of beautiful decorative combs for her hair, the ones she had admired in a shop window for months, but never dreamed she could own. Her hands trembled as she touched them. "They're lovely," she whispered, but my hair." Jim smiled and shrugged. "I sold my watch to buy them," he said simply. Della laughed, tears filling her eyes. "Oh, Jim," she said, "I sold my hair to buy you this." She handed him the box with the chain inside. Jim opened it and chuckled. "So now I have a chain with no watch, and you have combs with no hair," he said. They both laughed, realizing how ironic it was. But as they sat down together, they knew the gifts didn't matter. What mattered was their love and the lengths they were willing to go for each other. That Christmas, they didn't have much, but they had each other, and that was more than enough. So, interesting story, and it had that O. Henry twist at the end. Did you catch it? Jim sold his watch in order to buy comb and hairbrush for his wife's beautiful hair. And she cut off her hair and sold it to a wig maker so that she could buy a nice silver chain for her husband's watch. This is the old style pocket watch that men used to wear hanging out of their pocket, not a modern wristwatch that people would wear, I guess a phone these days. So in their love and devotion to each other, they each gave up the thing that the other needed to make a gift for the other. So that was the ironic twist at the end, wasn't it? The irony, of course, is that the gift they got for each other was now useless because of what they had given away in order to get the gift. Irony is basically the situation where there's something strange or interesting about it that's kind of funny, or in this case, a little bit sad. But in the end of the story, they loved each other, and that was the thing that mattered most. So I hope you enjoyed this story, and that you will come back to my channel and like, subscribe, and share, and I will have another story for you next week. Bye for now.